I call Karen after school and start talking to her. She's saying the same kind of thing. And I said, Karen, you know, do you really have any evidence that I can really go on? Because you obviously know something like this can go wildfire if there's nothing concrete. I'm like, do you really have any evidence? Well, I saw coming out of Laura's room and it looked like he was crying. So that makes you think that, you know, I was just trying to figure out like what it was. And I think that it was the combination of him looking distraught and the fact that Laura would not and was not in any way, shape, or form forthcoming with who the dad was. So I think they started kind of just speculating. And so I called Laura in here and what's going on? It's been reported that you're spending a lot of time with, you know, with male students. I was that vague to start with. And I said, have you been spending any time? So she named another kid, but she said, you know, he's in Link Crew and she's the Link Crew advisor. And then I said, anybody else? Well, and there's another student, you know. And I said, oh, okay, well, and I knew it was.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to kind of get the story behind why, you know, they were, and then that's when she proceeded to tell me that, you know, they had been spending a lot of time together because she was, you know, he had leaned on her and confided in her that he had gotten his girlfriend pregnant. And so all of a sudden I'm like, well, now this makes sense. This kid is, you know, gotten his girlfriend pregnant. He's leaning on a teacher who he knows. And Laura told me that was friends with her younger sister when he was at Citrus Valley. So it all started to make sense to me. And so she had this story and that, you know, he kind of leaned on her, and because she was pregnant too, you know, he kind of felt like she would sympathize, and since she didn't have the baby's father in his life, I mean, it was all this stuff. So I'm just like, you know, Laura, you need to make sure professionally that you're keeping your distance. You should never be alone with a student in your classroom. I mean, all of the things that one would admonish a teacher to do.
Was anything documented on that?
I have notes. I have my notes.
Okay.
So,
did you guys put something in your personnel file that she was counseled on that, or is it just?
Well, we have our hot files, or that we call them, our, you know, we kept a file on that.
Okay.
Now, for your, not that this happens all the time, I don't know how often allegations like this happen in the school district. What would have to happen for you guys to go to the next step? Do you guys have like a process of what you do?
Well, now that because again, what we have right now is a teacher's hunch. I mean, that's what started this whole thing. Then Bernie forwarded me a picture of the of Laura in, like, clearly like the next day or something in the delivery room, and was sitting in the background of this, and it was a picture that went all around, welcome baby Whitehurst. And so when Bernie, and that's how Bernie got it, because one of the other teachers had forwarded, probably all staff email forward, welcome baby Whitehurst. And when I first saw the picture, I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know what the kid looked like. So to me, and if you look at him in the picture, he looked like an older person. So it didn't even dawn on me anything. And then
they sent that picture out with him in it?
With him in it. And then another picture with Dale in it. So I don't know if those two pictures were taken at the exact same time or the exact same day, but it didn't cause me any pause at that time because I didn't know who the person was until Bernie called me and said, Sabine, stuff keeps coming up on this one. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, Sabine, that I'm like, what? And so that was maybe a couple of days after the baby was born. And again, school was out by then. Yeah. And so we're just like, oh, okay, well, you know, again, no one can get arrested for being in a delivery room. Again, we're still under the premise that this is a family friend. So, you know, even though we all thought, you know, we should probably keep our ear to the grind and see what's happening, there had been nothing at that moment yet to, again, do anything. And then within a week and a half, Mom called, and that's where we are right now. This was not a teacher that we were concerned about.
Yeah. Now, for the notes that you took, would we be able to get a copy of all the notes that you took for when you initially spoke to her?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just write that down. So we need a copy of notes. And then the other question that we actually got from Mom, she wanted to know, she asked me, she said, is there a reason why the school district didn't call CPS?
We filed CPS when we knew.
On the first time?
Mondays
Yesterday, when you guys called CPS. Okay. She wants to know for the first time when you guys talked to the teacher, when you talked to Mrs. Weisenhurst.
Because there was nothing to report. I mean, honestly, we have to have, I mean, it's the same reason why we didn't call the police. I mean, there was no, in fact, the last time we called you guys, when we actually had, on another case, pages of tweets and things like that, it was almost like, okay, well, thank you, but call us when there's a crime. And so, we were just going on the fact that we didn't have any evidence to report, and we were waiting to see what the evidence was. This was 3 weeks before school was out, and we were just, there was nothing at that moment for us to say, we're going to call this, we're going to call that, but we were certainly, like I said, keeping our ear to the grind and making sure that anything that came up, if anybody, no other teachers came forward, no student, there was nothing to support anything at that time. And so we were waiting for something kind of concrete, which we knew would happen if indeed it was true. And at that point, we did. So, I don't know what to say other than the fact that we report based on having evidence. And a teacher's hunch is hardly any evidence.
And I'm telling you because Mom, obviously she's calling. She's heartbroken. I mean,
I know.
We can only imagine, right? She's calling me every other hour wanting to know what's happening. Now there's a baby in the situation. I mean, this is going to be terrible for everybody involved for a long time. I mean, this is just a messy, messy situation. And she's starting to talk to people. She's starting to ask questions. And that's why we want to make sure we get the notes and we can show in our report.
Her, well, why wasn't this time? I mean, she's calling us. What happened there? Why did...
And people ask a lot of questions and they don't know the whole story. So my job in my report, my goal is to have this report done tomorrow. I'd like to send it to the DA. I already know which DA is going to go ahead and file it because I have a good working relationship with her, and I think that it'll make it easier for the process. We work well together. We can go ahead and move forward with this. But I want to make sure in my report I explain everything that you guys did and to show that you guys did everything that you were supposed to do based on the information you had.
That was all the information we had at the time.
Okay.
And like I said, the minute that that a true complaint came forth, we jumped on it. I mean, honestly, you were the first person I called, and right after you and I talked, we filed a CPS report.